Welcome to Brighter Rays. This study is called Fear Not, for I Am With You. We're looking at Genesis 26:18 through 35. We are back in Genesis chapter 26 this week, and as we look at the life of Isaac, a man who was blessed of the Lord. Last time we saw Isaac falter, like his father Abraham, because of the fear of the people. When he went to Gerar, he was afraid that they would kill him, which led him to lie about Rebekah. When he got caught, then he owned up to his sin and admitted that he had lied to save his own skin. So Abimelech warned everyone in his kingdom to not lay a hand on Isaac or Rebekah. But this did not stop them from growing envious of Isaac, as God blessed him with good crops, growing flocks and herds, and numerous servants. The envy became so great that Abimelech was forced to tell Isaac that he had to move. So Isaac left the city of Gerar and moved down into the valley. And that really brings us to where we'll pick up the story in verse 18. If you've been keeping an eye on our culture these days, you probably have seen a growing animosity towards God's people. Really, it's what God's people believe. The culture that many of you grew up in has changed. I'm only 43, and the world that I grew up in has changed. I mean, it's a lot different from when I was a kid. Our culture was friendlier to God's people. In many ways, it respected and acknowledged that Christians were blessed of God. But now, not so much. But is this surprising to us? Is this something new that's happening? No. As Ecclesiastes says, there is nothing new under the sun. What we're experiencing today is what God's people have always known. If we have been caught off guard, it's only because we've been foolish. We've been foolish to believe that the world was for us, or at least okay with us. If we as the church don't understand what's happening in our country, it's because we failed to learn the lessons of Scripture. We are afraid of people, but not of God. We don't know our Bibles, or worse, the church is full of worldlings, not Christians. So let's take a look at the story of Isaac. First, we are reminded from this story that God's people will struggle in this world as we see Isaac digging wells and having problems with the Philistines. Then we see that God is faithful to his promise as God appears to Isaac and reminds him of the promise. Then we'll see Isaac tries to live peaceably with his neighbors, and finally we'll talk about God's blessing and some of the family trials that come from following God. So that's what we're heading to in this study. So come back next time and we'll begin with how God's people struggle as we look at verses 18 through 22.